morning and welcome to our community affairs program that we call 30 Minutes. Today our special guest is Obion County Emergency Management Director Danny Carr. Danny, it's a pleasure to have you on the program.
Thanks for having me, Charles. I appreciate it.
Nothing strange about talking into a microphone for you, is it?
No, I've done that for several years. I've lived here pretty much all my life, other than about 7 months. Went to school at Central and have covered Central sports for KYTN for, I think, 36 years now. So
I did not realize it was that long.
Yeah, it's been a while. I'm calling games now that I call their parents' games, kids that I call their parents' games. So it's yeah.
That tells your age then.
Yes, it does. So
who have you called with over the time? Has it always been with Russ?
Actually, started out with Stephanie Sturgis, and then Kurt Cowell came in for a while. Kelly Ray came in for a while, which was a former player. Robin Cood called with me for a year. And then I've been working with Russ now for, gosh, I don't know. It's probably over 20 years. So, been a while.
Has it been enjoyable to do that?
Oh, it is. It is. It's, I don't do basketball anymore because I'd gotten into the SRO thing when I was in Hickman County and at Central. Too many games, and we have to be at those games. But football they've allowed me to do when I was still at the Sheriff's Department, and it's been fun.
And you've seen a lot of good football games. You've seen a lot of good players, haven't you?
Have. Sure.
On both sides of the field,
yes,
also.
Absolutely.
And you're still doing it now?
Yeah. I'll be there Friday night.
Well, that's very interesting. I did not realize you had over 30 years in the booth on that. Again, it is a pleasure to have Danny on today's program. And, of course, many of you know Danny by hearing him on Friday nights. And also many know Danny by his years of service in law enforcement. And that's been quite a while, hasn't it? It
has. I actually hired in, I think, January the 4th of 1994 with the Union City Police Department. So, yeah, it's been a while.
And what was your role there, Dan?
I was patrolman. At one point in time, I was a supervisor on shift, or one of the supervisors on shift. I also got into, when Homeland Security started putting the District 9 team together, we were tasked with doing the EOD part of that. Went through a lot of training for that, and that's when I really got interested in what I'm doing now. I served as an instructor during that time as well for TEMA, and was a terrorism liaison officer for our department with the state DHS.
And you also worked with the Obion County Sheriff's Office also, didn't you?
I left Union City in 2013 and actually went to Hickman County, Kentucky as an SRO for about 8 years. Then the sheriff here called me one day, wanted to know if I'd talk to him about coming back here. I ended up doing 4 years down at Obion Central as the SRO.
Yeah. And for those listening who may not be aware of it, SRO is School Resource Officer. And what type of job is that? What is the difference between doing that, Danny, and then being out on the road patrolling?
It's the biggest difference to me is that is more of a safety job in regards to trying to keep the campus safe. You, as an SRO, you try to develop relationships with the kids that are around every day. That's one of the positive things that you can do as an SRO, and that was one of the things I enjoyed about being a school resource officer during the about 12 years that I was. It was, you develop relationships with kids and the staff and the teachers as well. But at the end of the day, it's and I think most of the guys, both from Union City Police Department that are SROs and Obion County Sheriff's Department that are SROs, I think they all agree that pretty much the thing is, from the time the kids get on the campus until they leave, it's on me. Yeah. And that's kind of the approach.
Is it sad we've reached the point to have law enforcement officers in the school, or is it good that you just have extra safety?
I think it's good you have extra safety. I do think it's sad that we've reached that point in society. And it's not just in schools. Most churches in this area have security teams now. We would have never thought about that 25, 30 years ago. I mean, it wouldn't even have registered. But the climate we're in right now and the way things are, we have to have some sort of safety in place. And you have to, quite honestly, be able to meet force with force.
And it's probably a good advantage for the staff that's in the school system, the teachers. They probably feel a lot more secure and calm in teaching, knowing that you have SROs in the school system.
I think so. I hope so. I mean, it's... I can speak to both Hickman County and Obion Central. Had great relationships with the staffs at both. Enjoyed being around them. It was a good place to be. And at the end of the day, that's what you try to do. You try to make people around you comfortable, including the students, and you do your job, which is to make sure that if there's somebody on campus that's not supposed to be there, we check, we see. If there's a car sitting there that we don't know, we check. It's everything like that. So it's a little different from the street in regards to taking calls all day, but you stay busy as a school resource officer.
And you also worked with youth in the church up in Hickman County, too, for a while, didn't you?
I did for, I think, 7 years. I was a youth pastor at First Baptist Church in Clinton. Mm-hmm. And it was something I enjoyed. Of course, I've coached for years, and that was it was good. Yeah.
And again, those of you who are buddies and friends with Danny know that his Facebook page, you put out some very, very good some stories and scripture about it every day.
That was kind of odd how that came to be.
You and your brother both.
Yes, and Steve's been doing it for a while. After I resigned as youth pastor and was back, just working a regular job, and well, that was a part-time job, but I was still doing studies, and just one night posted something on Facebook, and it kind of went from there. It was like I had some people contact me, and so I did another one, and then it just kind of, and I think it's been several years now. Yeah,
it's good to get up in the morning, take a look, and see what you have there. It's kind of a good words for the day.
Well, it is, and I don't do a real good job of this, but sometimes, but it's it's good to reflect on what really matters, and who's actually in control. And you and I both know who that is, and God's a big part of my life. I think he is of yours, and hopefully he will be of more and more people, because that's one thing that would help our country right now is a turn back to God, my opinion.
I think anyone who watched the recent memorial service for Charlie Kirk really got a good dose of that right off the bat, didn't they?
Yes.
That was quite amazing. Well, keep that up, because I very much enjoy seeing that. Danny, again, now is our new Emergency Management Director here in Obion County, replacing Danny Jowers, who decided to. I think Danny is on the retirement path. That's where he's kind of narrowing everything down now. Danny did a really good job as being the EMA director.
He did. We got a chance to work together some toward the end of his tenure. I had actually I was training for TEMA and teaching classes here, and had assisted a couple of times, and actually was a deputy director for about a year. It was kind of not really mentioned, because it was just something I was doing, and also with our sheriff was good to let me do that, so it got me some experience in there, and got a chance to work with him. He did a great job. It's just it's a demanding job sometimes, and I think he was just ready to take a break.
Danny had some big things happen while he was. Yes. I mean, some big things. We had 2 or 3 big episodes with tornadoes, and straight line winds, and we had that 14, 16 inch snow that time, and so he got a true dose of it.
Oh, he did.
So you know what's coming your way then.
Well, I mean, in this part of the country, honestly, it's kind of like you just don't know. Right. We talked about a little bit about how tornadoes used to be a springtime thing. Mm-hmm. And now that's really not the case anymore. And the concern that we have is it seems like Tornado Alley has kind of moved east. Arkansas seems to be the real starting point now for a whole lot of it, and that didn't used to be that way. So yeah, it's a concern. And I mean, the tornado in 21 that hit down around the lake that did so much damage down there is evidence of the fact that just because it's not spring doesn't mean that the tornado season's over.
Absolutely. And that tornado long tracked from far past Poplar Bluff, Missouri,
yes,
all the way past us on up to Mayfield and on through. That was an amazing night.
Yeah, it was. And if you remember earlier this year, we had like 18 tornadoes tracking toward Tennessee back. It was earlier in the year. One night in particular, and I've never seen that. So. It all goes back to what a lot of this job is pushing preparedness to everybody, citizens of the county, first responders of the county, everybody. You guys in the news, you help do that, and we're greatly appreciative of that. But that's the thing, is just try to be as prepared as you can.
Absolutely. No doubt about that. I'll never forget that big snowstorm. Danny called me, and of course, again, it was 14 or 16 inches of snow. We couldn't get the side door open to get in. Davita and I were the only one that could show up. We had four-wheel drive, and Danny called because they couldn't get the regular ambulances out on calls. You remember the National Guard here had the Humvees out that were assisting if people needed to go to the hospital, and he was right in the middle of it. So it's got to be an interesting position. But Danny, when you heard that Danny Jowers was going to step down, did you have immediate interest in trying to get this position?
I did. I mean, I actually applied when Danny got it, when he got it, years ago. And it's always been something that's interested me. Once I got into some training for the thought of having an EOD team here, the more training I did and the more training I did with TEMA, I got really interested in the response side of things. And, how the ICS, the Incident Command System, was set up and what they were doing. And somewhere along the way, I started instructing for that back in 2007, maybe, and did several classes before I left in 13. Had a chance to go to New Mexico Tech for some classes from FEMA, and then I had two different opportunities to go to actually flew into Vegas and ended up spending a week on the Nevada test site for some radiological stuff. So, and the more I did that, the more interested I got in it. So, when I heard that he was talking about retiring, it was something I was very interested in. I've done training with FEMA. Gosh, I don't know, probably 120 classes plus. I don't know. Over the years, just because, and it's weird because some people look at me and ask me why I'm taking all these classes. It's interesting to me. So that information is good information. I mean, it's everything from, a class on livestock and disasters. Mm-hmm. But there's a need for that information because we have a lot of livestock around here. So that's part of what would fall into what we have to deal with.
Anything that you brought from law enforcement that would apply to this position?
Yeah, it's, law enforcement, you respond to pretty much everything. Mm-hmm. It can be anything from a barking dog to shots fired to... You have to think on your feet, and sometimes you have to think outside the box. And that's kind of where we're at here. We've had a couple of meetings this week about an exercise I hope is coming up and trying to get some things together on that. And it's, you have to think outside the box because if we have, and let's just say an earthquake, if we have an earthquake, the normal response is going to probably be disrupted because of bridges, roads, trees, whatever.
Communication. So
now communications is going to be an issue, but now we've got to figure a different way to make this work. So that's where a lot of this comes from. And, the LEPC here, we talk about this a lot. LEPC is Local Emergency Planning Committee. Mm-hmm. We talk about this a lot about trying to look at things kind of outside the box as to what we can do or if this happens, then this. And you can play what if all day, but you kind of have to.
Right. Again, today we are speaking with Mr. Danny Carr. He is the Obion County Emergency Management Director. It's always a pleasure to get to sit down and talk with Danny. He's doing a great job in this position. And for those who are tuned in today, Danny, it may not be familiar. What is actually the day-to-day operations for your position?
Whether you're the safety officer for the county, that's one thing. There is a lot of paperwork in regards with TEMA and FEMA and different things that have to be done. I'll spend a lot of time going around visiting schools, visiting police departments, fire departments, and just trying to get everything kind of lined out. I hope to eventually, sooner than later, start getting around to some of the larger businesses and some of the other businesses in the area and just talk to them about their emergency plan and what they've got. The biggest thing for us, and I keep saying this, but it's just the truth, this job, the biggest thing is to push preparedness and to try to make sure that people take a minute and look at what could happen. And if it does happen, how are we going to respond to it?
Right. And hearing you talk since we've started about this, I get the feeling that a lot of your job is you network with a lot of people and a lot of organizations. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. I've got a good relationship with TEMA West, which is headquartered in Jackson. I've done some adjunct teaching or instructing down there with them, and had a good relationship with them before I took the job. So that's a plus. Those guys do an amazing job down there. They cover a lot of ground, but they're extremely knowledgeable and extremely helpful. As far as other EMA directors around here, I've met most of them and have started to build that working relationship as well. A good bunch of guys. And one of the things, and I hope people know this, the first responders we have in the county do an amazing job. They respond to whatever they need to respond to, and they do it very, very professionally. If you go back to the flooding in the spring, especially the first round in February, it snowed the next day. Being in water when it was that cold, for hours and hours, but these guys do that, and they do that because, one, they love their job, but they want to serve people. And I have a philosophy: at the end of the day, we've got to figure out what makes this better, and that's our job. And whatever that looks like or whatever that takes, that's what we're going to try to do.
And many of the first responders are there little or no pay.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's a whole other issue. It's for
love of service, I would say.
Yes,
right?
For what they do. Probably not paid enough now.
For sure. One thing we wanted to talk about today, to have Danny here on the program, is upcoming in October is the Great U.S. Shakeout. Actually, it's a worldwide event that's taking place in October. Tell us about this, Danny.
Well, October the 16th, and it's actually at 10:16 a.m. I understand you don't have to do that at that time. The major thing with this is to get you to conduct an earthquake drill in your business, in your school, wherever, and to take a little time to review what your plans are, and if you don't have a plan, to make a plan for what you would do in the event of an earthquake. We were talking before, earlier this morning. You kind of get heads up on storms most of the time. The earthquake thing is a completely different animal because there is no warning. We have tremors, smaller tremors, it seems like now about every week. It's been over 400 years since we've had a major one, but that only means that, to me, that it's possible. And we have to look at it that way.
But we do live on the New Madrid Fault.
Absolutely. And some of the statistics will show that there was a similar quake to the 1811-1812 quake about 500 years prior. Mm-hmm. So, it's always there. and there's always that possibility. Lord knows I hope it never happens, but if it does, we have to respond to it, and it's going to create some real challenging situations to respond if we have a 6 or better.
The Great Shakeout again in October. That is for schools, for businesses, hospitals, industries, homes. That's for everyone to be a part of. Correct?
Yes, it is. I mean, you can register for that at shakeout.org. That's the address. You can go on there and register that you're going to participate. There are some resources on there as far as some information that would be valuable to you. But yeah, I mean, it's basically for everybody, and it's just to take a look at what your plans are. And like with the schools, several of the schools I know are doing it. It gives them a chance to evaluate what their policy is for how they respond to an earthquake with students in the building, and take a look at it and see if it's if is there a way to improve this. Doing the SRO thing for several years, several times we would run a drill and find something that, hey, wait a minute, we need to do this instead of that. Mm-hmm. And it's something you need to practice. It's like anything. It's like playing an instrument or playing sports. If you don't practice through this stuff, you're going to forget it, or you're just going to be out of practice in doing it, and that's not a good situation.
Right. And you also, in earlier conversations that we had, the importance of being prepared at home is just as important as being prepared at a school or industry. And a homeowner might say, well, what can I do to prepare for an earthquake? Well, you mentioned food and water is a major thing, isn't it?
Yes, it is. I mean, it would be good if you had 2 or 3 days of supply of water on hand that and also some foods that will keep that you will have something to eat, because it's kind of up in the air as to how long we will be kind of isolated. If bridges go down in the county, and I'm not trying to paint this doomy picture, but if bridges go down in the county, there are going to be areas that are isolated, and it's going to be difficult to get any supplies in there. We're working on something right now to try to kind of work different areas that, this area would be isolated and this area. We're working on some stuff right now to try to kind of put some teams together maybe that can help us do that. That's still in the early stages of work, but we're working that way. But yeah, I mean, just basic necessities, a flashlight, a battery-powered radio, because you got to look at the fact that communications are going to probably be down. And this can be in a tornado or an earthquake, right. But you may not have your cell phone, and the repeaters may be down, and first responders may not have radio. So then we've got to try to get creative on how we communicate and how we move about the county to do what we need to do. So
with this great U.S. shakeout, preparation by, as we said, business, industry, and homes is very important. But it's very important for your office to be prepared too, isn't it?
Yes, sir. And we try to be. I know Danny Jowers did. I am as well. We try to look ahead. We try to make sure that we have stuff on hand that we will need. Water's one of the big things. Fortunately, around here, we have businesses that are very willing to help out in those times. We've had several businesses around here that have pretty much said, "Hey, take what you need." And that's only in an extreme situation, but that's a great thing to have, and that's one reason I like living here. It's a good area, and for the most part, people care about each other.
And there's so many scenarios you can think concerning a winter storm, a spring or fall storm, or an earthquake. There's so many different scenarios. You don't know. You don't
right.
You don't know what could happen.
Well, that's true. I mean, all of the natural stuff, and then you get into hazmat incident, or train derailment, which is probably going to turn into a hazmat incident. There are all sorts of things that our first responders respond to every day, and it's hard to look at it all, but you try to look at as much of it as you can. And like I said, you can't plan for an earthquake in regards to when it's going to happen, like it's going to happen tomorrow. But you can pre-plan and get as much stuff in place as you can to be prepared to start responding. It's never going to go the way we plan it. We can sit and have planning committee meetings from now to whenever, but it's not going to go exactly that way. But if we're ahead of the game in regards to we've got resources in place and we know where to get resources and move those through, then we're ahead.
Rick Shanklin, who used to be the warning coordination meteorologist for the National Weather Service in Paducah, used to stop by the radio station here all the time. If he was close, he would call, he would come in. Loved talking with him. Very, very much information he had. And he mentioned, as we said earlier, that the tornado area had moved from Oklahoma, Kansas, that area, over into our area. But he also said, as now we go into October, November, and December, that the fall season sometimes has some of the most dangerous tornadoes because, it can warm up in October and November, get very warm, and then next thing you know, it's cold, and there's that clash.
Well, you think back to 21. It was hot that day.
Yes.
And when those tornadoes started firing.
And that was December.
Yes, December the 10th. And you look at that, and that long track tornado that devastated Mayfield, and quite honestly, down around Sandburg and Lake Drive, the recovery down there is still going on. Yes. They're in the process of building City Hall back in Sandburg, and it takes time to get through the recovery phase of it.
And you have to admit, as you said earlier, Danny, even with that and then the flooding in Reeves and the things that's going on here, the local people really, really have come to the top and really did a good job.
Oh, they have. The people around here are willing to help. Sometimes that has to be organized a little bit, and as far as volunteers, and I hope people understand that we have to account for everybody that enters the scene. If we're not doing that, then we're not doing our job. The whole point with the incident command system, the ICS that FEMA has put out, and is kind of the way they want this any incident to be handled. One of the biggest things is accountability. You need to make sure that you have everybody that's on scene logged in so that they're there. We don't want to lose somebody that we didn't know was there. So that's always a concern.
Again, we are about to run out of time today. We've had the opportunity to speak with Obion County Emergency Management Director Danny Carr. And also, Danny, I want you to give that login and sign up for the great U.S. Shakeout in October so people can be part of that. And how can they log in and how can they register?
If they'll just go online and go to Shakeout, that's capital SHAKE, capital OUT.org.
And why is this important to them, Danny?
Truthfully, it's important just so that you will think about it, that you will look at what your plans are. And again, if you don't have a plan, that you'll kind of put something together in your head, at least if you're at home. Okay, where am I going to go if the ground starts shaking, or where, what am I going to, and you can even incorporate this into the severe weather stuff. Where am I going to go if we're under tornado warning? Do I have enough food and water on hand in case we have a snowstorm? All of that kind of stuff. You can kind of play all of that out, but this is a good way to kind of prompt that.
Danny, we appreciate you very much. Appreciate the work you're doing.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate you having me on this morning. I enjoyed it.
Again, Danny Carr, Obion County Emergency Management Director. And that concludes this week's 30 Minutes program. We hope you enjoyed today's show. And, of course, we invite you to tune in again next week at this same time as we bring you topics and information of importance to our community. From all of us here at Thunderbolt Broadcasting, until we meet again next week, I'm Charles Choate.
You've been listening to 30 Minutes, a community affairs program on Thunderbolt Radio. You can listen to this broadcast and others anytime by visiting thunderboltradio.com and following the Thunderbolt Radio and Digital YouTube page. Thanks for listening.